Ata Māori. It's a pleasure to be here for the 5th time in 3 years to advocate for the full retention of the Town Hall. So this morning I'm going to give you 5 points and let's see if I can get through them in 5 minutes. Just a word on return on investment. So the Deloitte's report outlines very clearly that you get a significant return on investment for making the decision to restore the Town Hall in full. But I just want to repeat something Ian said, that will also get a return on the investment made by our predecessors. Christchurch had been without a town hall for 100 years when the people of the city banded together to raise funds to build one. And as you've heard, by the time the building was opened, the public had raised nearly 20% of the total cost of the building. Now, you might want to think about asking the people of Christchurch if they want to donate again. They might. Some of us certainly would. But can you imagine them raising 20% of the cost of a public building today, over and above their contribution through rates? I can't see that happening. I really think it's important to honour that investment made by our predecessors, made by the people of the city. My second point, being world class. Now, that wasn't a crap investment either, I'd like to point out. The words world class are bandied about frequently in official statements on the rebuild of Christchurch. By restoring and repairing the Town Hall, we know we're getting a world class venue. We don't need to speculate about it, we don't need to talk it up. It has already repeatedly been recognised as a world-class building. It is already meaningfully world-class. My third point, sustainability. What is the environmental cost of demolition? This is a question that hasn't been asked enough in Christchurch in the past 4.5 years. For someone of my generation, it is a really important question. No one's talking about what an environmental disaster it has been for us to have sent 160 years of accumulated urban fabric to the tip, to take all that material, all the human effort to shape it and to build it, all that embodied carbon taken out of use and binned. And then we have to replace it from scratch with new material using more energy and fossil fuels. Retention of the whole of the Town Hall speaks to a range of values. I think you've heard that this morning, but one of them is environmental. A recent American study in 2012 confirmed that the greenest building is the one already standing. Repairing and restoring the Town Hall is the most sustainable option for this city. Now, just a quick word about option 2, a partial rebuild of the Limes Room and Restaurant. I'd like to challenge the assessment made in the option analysis on page 107 of the agenda of the RMA risk as being low for a partial rebuild of the Limes Room and Restaurant. Now that comment, if you read the report and the footnotes, is based on a single comment made by a peer reviewer commenting on another report made in 2012. Now, most of the people behind me joined me in challenging that then, and we would challenge it now. We could talk about the building's whole architectural heritage as a whole. Glenn's raised it, Jamie's raised it. And those 2 rooms are essential to the architectural quality of the whole building. I didn't properly introduce myself. I am Jessica Halliday, Dr. Jessica Halliday. I have a PhD in art history, in architectural history. So, it does have this important contribution to make to the whole. But think about this. What about the contribution those rooms make to the setting? They make a significant contribution to our sense of place, especially when you view the building from Victoria Square. And in the past year, we've seen people stand up to express powerfully their passion for what that setting means to them. Oh, and just a word on the restaurant thing that's been raised already. It always seemed remarkable to me that, okay, council's maybe not very good, or V-Base, at running restaurants, but that is such a beautiful setting for a restaurant. I mean, it's an ideal setting for a restaurant. I reckon any restaurateur in this city would love to get their hands on it and would make it work. I mean, imagine if it had food that you could quickly gobble down in an intermission, tapas or dim sum. I mean, it just needs some creativity and thinking, and I don't think the levels are going to make any difference to how that works as a restaurant. One last point, sense of place and well-being. I would argue that there is not one building in this city that can match the town hall for the way in which it has shaped our collective lives. Many of our most precious shared memories, accumulated over decades, are associated with the town hall. Science fairs, theatrical performances, cantor math, school choirs and the big sing, the first experience of a full live orchestral performance. It has been the setting for the full spectrum of public life. Full prize givings, university graduations, citizenship ceremonies, public meetings and major public funerals. The majority of the population of the city has established a meaningful connection to this building. The sense of place created by the town hall was remarkable before the earthquake. Now, in a city that has had its sense of place hollowed out by widespread demolition, it is extraordinary. The All Right campaign's most recent research on wellbeing in Christchurch records the effect that this hollowing out of a sense of place has had on people. It notes that some people feel that Christchurch is no longer Christchurch. And the research notes that there is now, 4 years later, a greater understanding that demolished buildings and infrastructure has had an impact on people's self-identity. And I'll quote one of those people from that report. One of the difficult things for me, when you drive, it's just like scorched earth. All the familiar things have gone. What was in that big gap? That makes you feel lost. I'm at sea. The town hall is one of our few remaining anchors in this sea of loss. It provides us with a sense of place, which means it is connected to our well-being. Remarkable special buildings like the town hall not only provide physical shelter to house our fragile bodies, they house our memories, our fantasies, dreams and desires. The town hall enriches our experience of Christchurch, and it strengthens our sense of belonging and our sense of citizenship. For our city to thrive, we need these qualities generated by a building like the town hall. We need to feel a sense of place and a sense of belonging. Thank you.
Thank you. Never forget the greenest building is the one that's already standing. I heard Mayor Bob from Greensburg, Kansas, say that in a speech that he gave in a conference I went to a couple of years ago. And but you quoted it from a...
There was a study in 2012. I can send you the link if you'd
that
like.
would be great. It would be really good. Because
it was an American study, and it showed that if you build a new building, got all the latest, greenest technology and methods, it still takes 80 years before it's up to the point of the building that's already standing. 80 years.
Now we're looking at, one of the options obviously tomorrow is the do nothing option, which has a cost attached to it of 12 million, including cost to date of 7 million. So I assume that they're saying 5 million for the actual cost of demolition, but that seems awfully light to me. But there is, as you say, a much bigger cost to take into account as well, which is the environmental cost. And I do worry about this because I see repairable buildings being demolished every day. I mean, one's being demolished at the moment to make way for our library. So how does that make our library ever sustainable? Yeah. Because we've knocked down a building that could have been used for a different purpose, like a hotel, as it was. I mean, I worry about this. I don't know why other people aren't worried about it, but I'm glad you are, and I'm glad that you've raised it. Yanni.
Thank you for your presentation. a number of submitters have commented on the importance nationally and also internationally of this space. Do you think there's a case for, we're able to meet with the Minister of Culture and Heritage this afternoon for the first time since the earthquake, so that's really exciting. Do you think there's a case for us asking for central government help, given its significance?
Yes, if you see an avenue for that. Definitely it is a building of national significance. And that's not a difficult argument to make. I'm not quite sure what avenue you'd pursue.
I think we might have more luck with the provincial council chamber.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah.
Which is also important.
It is very important.
Really important.
But we've had to kind of almost like mothball, but protect it, and well protect it, you know, and that has a cost to it as well. But you know,
it's all right. You can take your time.
Yeah, it has to take its time, and
yeah.
and I mean maybe that's a question here around the town hall. I mean, components of it, you know, you know, are we able to take our time and repair bits of it?
It was interesting to see that Deloitte's addressed that in the report and came to the conclusion that it was actually better to have the Big Bang.
Yeah, that was the phrase they used.
Yeah, a different kind of Big Bang.
I know.
You know, if you think of this as our cultural stadium and you think about the significant Crown contribution to things like the rugby stadium, then it just seems to me, you know, possibly there's a...
Oh, maybe you should have negotiated in the cost share, Yanni, sorry. I mean, it's not fair to ask somebody who's come along to make, I think, the points that you've made, to comment on what is, in fact, a political discussion between ourselves and the Crown. So, look, thank you very much for your contribution. It's been extremely helpful, and I've found today very valuable indeed. So I think Jessica was the last of our submitters. Last of our deputations, is that right? All right, so
Leanne, in Yanni's defence, Jessica did confirm that the building is of national significance, and I think that was something good to
yes, I know,
come
but
out of
asking
that
whether there should be a contribution from central government is actually something we need to have that discussion with central government, and I'm sure Yanni doesn't need defending by anyone. He's perfectly capable of defending himself. Anyway, well, look, thank you very much, everyone, and thank you all of the submitters and staff who are present as well, who've been able to hear those deputations. It's been extremely helpful, and you know, just to kind of wind it up, just to remind people that 9 of the people sitting in this room here weren't here when the decision was made. And it's been incredibly useful to have the degree of advice and support and acknowledgement that you've been able to provide us with as a council that is going to make some decisions tomorrow. But that's the end of today, and tomorrow we'll be dealing with the matter. It's highly likely that we will deal with the town hall item that we've addressed at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. In fact, I'm going to try and aim for that so that people know what time they can either tune in on the live stream or the time that they can come down here and observe the debate. So thank you very much. I'll adjourn the meeting until tomorrow morning at 9:30.